Hey, it's Kane from Kane Alessia, world-class speaker and industry rockstar, and I'm very excited for you to be joining me for this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about something that I'm very passionate about, and it's called modeling, because I want to give you a tool that you can use forever to really increase your ability to communicate powerfully by observing people that you really admire and being able to kind of borrow exactly what they're doing and put it into your toolbox of tools. This is called modeling. And from the last 20 years of doing research on human behavior and how human beings really achieve greatness and how they represent their greatness in the world, because it's not just about discovering your greatness, it's also about being able to communicate and demonstrating your greatness to others. That's really what world-class speaker is about, is the ability to demonstrate your greatness. You know, a friend of ours named Les Brown always says, you have greatness inside of you. And world-class speaker has always dealt with the question of how do you demonstrate that to others so that they see that you have greatness? Because we often notice people sometimes go, I know I have greatness in me, but nobody else knows. And I want everyone else to know. So I'm going to share with you a technique that I've used over the years, because when I started presenting or speaking, I knew nothing about presenting and speaking. Now, I have been an entertainer for a long time. From the time I was 5 years old, I was a musician, and I loved performing and entertaining. I loved telling jokes, and I studied over the years a lot of improv, improvisational comedy, theater. I went to school for performance at a school called Berklee School of Music, which is the top performance school in the world. And I really still, when I got into speaking, I felt like I really didn't know anything about it, and I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to go back to the beginning to understand, how can I find my path, my voice, my expression, and my power to share what I think was my greatness. So I used this thing called modeling. And there were three things that I was looking at as I watched other presenters and speakers. The first thing I would really recommend you do is actually find speakers or presenters that you love and you really resonate with. Whether that's a man or a woman or both, whether that's someone from a certain country or background or ethnic background or whatever it is, doesn't make a difference, just as long as you find presenters and speakers that you really resonate with. Now, a simple search on YouTube will get you a lot of videos. Of course, you may love somebody like Tony Robbins, or you may love someone like Les Brown, or you may love someone like, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, or Kane Alessia, or you might like someone like Brendan Burchard, or I don't know, anybody who's become a really well-known famous speaker in the world. The first thing I want you to listen for and look at is, what is the energy that they are exuding when they're presenting? Now, there's different characters that one can take on in presenting. And when I say energy, energy is really, it's an expression of a character. Now, what's a character? Well, think about any Disney movie or any television show or any movie. Every person in the movie is a character, and they have certain personalities that define them as a character. So if we think of, I don't know, what's a good Disney character? If you're a woman, maybe Elsa, right? I got a 4.5-year-old daughter, so I'm really hip on all the princesses in Disney, right? So maybe, if you think about a Disney character, Elsa from Frozen, right? She has very distinctive characteristics. The way she expresses, the way she moves, the way she engages. She's a queen, right? So she's got this very refined movement around how she moves and how she talks to everybody and how she holds herself, which is very different than her sister Anna, who is a little bit of a goofball in the movie, right? Now, if you haven't seen the movie Frozen, you should go see it. It's a great movie. And if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it doesn't even matter if you know the movie or what I'm talking about. The idea is to start to notice the characters and the energy, the movements, and what's going on, how people are using their bodies and their energy. So if you watch someone like Tony Robbins versus someone like Les Brown or someone like Alessia or myself, you're going to see very different the ways that we exert our energy, that we use our bodies, our tone of voice, and the way we actually express our character. Now, you might want to start to consider, what would you call that character? So when I think of Tony Robbins, I think of this really strong, motivated character. He's got this real strong strength. He's always kind of hitting his chest and hitting his fist and talking direct like that. And so on stage, if I want to really motivate the audience, I could just think about going into the expression modalities of what Tony Robbins is doing in that moment. Now, I want it to be an authentic expression of Kane, like you want it to be an expression of yourself. But really, this gives you the opportunity to step into the character and use that character. If you think about Les Brown, very different expression and character, where he might have a little bit more of a gospel feel, right? Where he's sharing almost like he's really motivating you and getting you inspired and that energy and you gotta be hungry, that kind of thing. So then you can start to take on those characteristics. So the first thing to notice is the energy and the characteristics, the way they use their bodies, the way they use their energy. Number two, their language patterns. I want you to notice, what are the language patterns that they use? If you're really inspired by a technical speaker, what What are the language, the words, literally the words and the patterns that they use to really cause a lot of energy or success when they're presenting or speaking? So the first one is the energy and the way they use their body and expression. The second thing is their language patterns. What are the words that they're actually using? And the third thing that I want you to watch for is how do they structure their talk? Do they start with stories? Do they put stories in later? Do they come out with an inspirational quote? Do they get really aggressive in the beginning and really soft back? Do they get really emotional in the beginning or do they get emotional later? Start to notice how speakers craft and structure the sequence of what they do, because when you model their energy, their character, their language patterns, and their structures, you can start to mix and match all these great speakers into tools that you have at any moment to create energy in the room, just like Tony Robbins would, just like I would, just like Les Brown would, just like Alessia would, just like Robert and Kim Kiyosaki would, just like Tim Ferriss would, just like, I don't know, any great speaker that you can think of in the world, just like Grant Cardone or Gary Vee, all these great people that we've spent the world sharing our stages with and modeling to see how can we be as effective as them and include their tools and their experiences and their expression and their language patterns and their structures into ours. At the World Class Speaker, we're going to divide this out into very specific distinctions and teach you the language patterns of success, the characters that you can use and model, and the structures that are helping generate success, impact, and money all over the planet for the top speakers in the world. We'll see you at World Class Speakers soon. Have a great one.